The Negro's Complaint and Other Poems. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Negro's Complaint by William Cowper. Forced from home and all its pleasures, Afric's coast I left forlorn, to increase a stranger's treasures, o'er the raging billows borne. Men from England bought and sold me, paid my price in paltry gold. But, though slave they have enrolled me, mines are never to be sold. Still in thought as free as ever, what are England's rights, I ask, me from my delights to sever, me to torture, me to task? Fleecy locks and black complexion cannot forfeit nature's claim. Skins may differ, but affection dwells in white and black the same. Why did all creating nature make the plant for which we toil? Sighs must fan it, tears must water, sweat of ours must dress the soil. Think, ye masters iron-hearted, lolling at your jovial boards, think how many backs have smarted for the sweets your cane affords. Is there, as ye sometimes tell us, is there one who reigns on high? Has he bid you buy and sell us, speaking from his throne the sky? Ask him if your knotted scourges match his blood-extorting screws, are the means that duty urges agents of his will to use. Hark, he answers, wild tornadoes, strewing yonder sea with wrecks, wasting towns, plantations, meadows, are the voice with which he speaks. He, foreseeing what vexations Afric's sons should undergo, fixed their tyrants' habitations where his whirlwinds answer no. By our blood in Afric wasted, ere our necks received the chain, by the miseries that we tasted, crossing in your barks the main, by our sufferings since ye brought us to the man-degrading mart, all, sustained by patience, taught us only by a broken heart. Deem our nation brutes no longer, till some reason ye shall find worthier of regard and stronger than the colour of our kind. Slaves of gold, whose sordid dealings tarnish all your boasted powers, prove that you have human feelings ere you proudly question ours. End of poem, read by Alan Mapstone. Pity for Poor Africans by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I own I am shocked at the purchase of slaves, and fear those who buy them and sell them are knaves. What I hear of their hardships, their tortures and groans, is almost enough to draw pity from stones. I pity them greatly, but I must be mum, for how could we do without sugar or rum? Especially sugar, so needful we see. What, give up our desserts, our coffee and tea? Besides, if we do, the French, Dutch, and Danes will heartily thank us, no doubt, for our pains. If we do not buy the poor creatures, they will, and tortures and groans will be multiplied still. If foreigners likewise would give up the trade, much more in behalf of your wish might be said. But while they get riches by purchasing blacks, pray tell me why we may not also go snacks? Your scruples and arguments bring to my mind a story so pat you may think it is coined on purpose to answer you out of my mint, but I can assure you I saw it in print. A youngster at school, more sedate than the rest, had once his integrity put to the test. His comrades had plotted an orchard to rob, and asked him to go and assist in the job. He was shocked, sir, like you, and answered, "Oh no! What, rob our good neighbour? I pray you don't go. Besides, the man's poor, his orchard's his bread. Then think of his children, for they must be fed. You speak very fine, and you look very grave, but apples we want, and apples we'll have. If you will go with us, you shall have a share. If not, you shall have neither apple nor pear." They spoke, and Tom pondered. "I see they will go. Poor man, what a pity to injure him so. Poor man, I would save him his fruit if I could, but staying behind would do him no good. If the matter depended alone upon me, his apples might hang till they dropped from the tree. But since they will take them, I think I'll go too. He will lose none by me, though I get a few." His scruples thus silenced, Tom felt more at ease, and went with his comrades the apples to seize. He blamed and protested, but joined in the plan. He shared in the plunder, but pitied the man. End of poem. Lines addressed to Dr. Darwin by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Author of The Botanic Garden. Two poets by report not oft so well agree, sweet harmonist of Flora's court, conspire to honour thee. They best can judge a poet's worth, who oft themselves have known the pangs of a poetic birth by labours of their own. We therefore pleased extol thy song, though various yet complete, rich in embellishment as strong, and learned as 'tis sweet. No envy mingles with our praise, though could our hearts repine at any poet's happier lays, they would, they must at thine. But we in mutual bondage knit, of friendship's closest tie, can gaze on even Darwin's wit with an unjaundiced eye, and deem the bard, whoe'er he be, and howsoever known, who would not twine a wreath for thee, unworthy of his own. End of poem. Verses supposed to be written by Alexander Selkirk during his solitary abode in the island of Juan Fernandez by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I am monarch of all I survey. My rights there is none to dispute. From the centre all round to the sea, I am lord of the fowl and the brute. O solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? Better dwell in the midst of alarms than reign in this horrible place. I am out of humanity's reach. I must finish my journey alone. Never hear the sweet music of speech. I start at the sound of my own. The beasts that roam over the plain my form with indifference see. They are so unacquainted with man, their tameness is shocking to me. Society, friendship, and love, divinely bestowed upon man, oh, had I the wings of a dove, how soon would I taste you again! My sorrows I then might assuage in the ways of religion and truth, might learn from the wisdom of age, and be cheered by the sallies of youth. Religion, what treasure untold resides in that heavenly word, more precious than silver and gold, or all that this earth can afford. But the sound of the church-going bell these valleys and rocks never heard, never sighed at the sound of a knell, or smiled when a Sabbath appeared. Ye winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate shore some cordial, endearing report of a land I shall visit no more. My friends, do they now and then send a wish or a thought after me? Oh, tell me I yet have a friend, though a friend I am never to see. How fleet is a glance of the mind, compared with the speed of its flight! The tempest itself lags behind, and the swift-winged arrows of light. When I think of my own native land, in a moment I seem to be there. But alas, recollection at hand soon hurries me back to despair. But the sea-fowl is gone to her nest, the beast is laid down in his lair. Even here is a season of rest, and I to my cabin repair. There's mercy in every place, and mercy, encouraging thought, gives even affliction a grace, and reconciles man to his lot. End of poem. On the promotion of Edward Thurlow, Esquire, to the Lord High Chancellorship of England, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Round Thurlow's head in early youth, and in his sportive days, fair science poured the light of truth, and genius shed his rays. See, with united wonder cried the experienced and the sage, ambition in a boy supplied with all the skill of age. Discernment, eloquence, and grace proclaim him born to sway the balance in the highest place, and bear the palm away. The praise bestowed was just and wise, he sprang impetuous forth, secure of conquest where the prize attends superior worth. So the best courser on the plain, ere yet he starts, is known, and does but at the goal obtain what all had deemed his own. End of poem. Boadicea, an Ode, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When the British warrior queen, bleeding from the Roman rods, sought with an indignant mien counsel of her country's gods, sage beneath the spreading oak sat the Druid, hoary chief. Every burning word he spoke, full of rage and full of grief. Princess, if our aged eyes weep upon thy matchless wrongs, 'tis because resentment ties all the terror of our tongues. Rome shall perish, write that word in the blood that she has spilt. Perish, hopeless and abhorred, deep in ruin as in guilt. Rome, for empire far renowned, tramples on 1,000 states. Soon her pride shall kiss the ground. Hark, the Gaul is at her gates. Other Romans shall arise, heedless of a soldier's name. Sounds, not arms, shall win the prize, harmony the path to fame. Then the progeny that springs from the forests of our land, armed with thunder, clad with wings, shall a wider world command. Regions Caesar never knew, thy posterity shall sway, where his eagles never flew, none invincible as they. Such the bard's prophetic words, pregnant with celestial fire, bending as he swept the chords of his sweet but awful lyre. She, with all a monarch's pride, felt them in her bosom glow, rushed to battle, fought, and died. Dying, hurled them at the foe. Ruffians, pitiless as proud, heaven awards the vengeance due. Empire is on us bestowed. Shame and ruin wait for you. End of poem. On the burning of Lord Mansfield's library, together with his manuscript, by the mob in the month of June 1780, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. So then, the Vandals of our isle, sworn foes to sense and law, have burnt to dust a nobler pile than ever Roman saw. And Murray sighs o'er Pope and Swift, and many a treasure more, the well-judged purchase and the gift that graced his lettered store. Their pages mangled, burnt, and torn, the loss was his alone. But ages yet to come shall mourn the burning of his own. On the same. When wit and genius meet their doom in all-devouring flame, they tell us of the fate of Rome, and bid us fear the same. O'er Murray's loss the Muses wept, they felt the rude alarm, yet blessed the guardian care that kept his sacred head from harm. There memory, like the bee that's fed from Flora's balmy store, the quintessence of all he read, had treasured up before. The lawless herd with fury blind have done him cruel wrong. The flowers are gone, but still we find the honey on his tongue. End of poem. Horace, Book 2, Ode 10, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Receive, dear friend, the truths I teach, so shalt thou live beyond the reach of adverse fortune's power. Not always tempt the distant deep, nor always timorously creep along the treacherous shore. He that holds fast the golden mean, and lives contentedly between the little and the great, feels not the wants that pinch the poor, nor plagues that haunt the rich man's door, embittering all his state. The tallest pines feel most the power of wintry blasts, the loftiest tower comes heaviest to the ground. The bolts that spare the mountain's side his cloud-capped eminence divide, and spread the ruin round. The well-informed philosopher rejoices with a wholesome fear, and hopes in spite of pain. If winter bellow from the north, soon the sweet spring comes dancing forth, and nature laughs again. What if thine heaven be overcast? The dark appearance will not last. Expect a brighter sky. The god that strings the silver bow awakes sometimes the muses too, and lays his arrows by. If hindrances obstruct thy way, thy magnanimity display, and let thy strength be seen. But oh, if fortune fill thy sail with more than a propitious gale, take half thy canvas in. End of poem. The Doves, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Reasoning at every step he treads, man yet mistakes his way, while meaner things, whom instinct leads, are rarely known to stray. One silent eve I wandered late, and heard the voice of love. The turtle thus addressed her mate, and soothed the listening dove. Our mutual bond of faith and truth no time shall disengage. Those blessings of our early youth shall cheer our latest age. While innocence without disguise and constancy sincere shall fill the circles of those eyes, and mine can read them there. Those ills that wait on all below shall ne'er be felt by me, or gently felt, and only so, as being shared with thee. When lightnings flash among the trees, or kites are hovering near, I fear lest thee alone they seize, and know no other fear. 'Tis then I feel myself a wife, and press thy wedded side, resolved an union formed for life, death never shall divide. But oh, if fickle and unchaste, forgive a transient thought, thou couldst become unkind at last, and scorn thy present lot. No need of lightnings from on high, or kites with cruel beak, denied the endearments of thine eye, this widowed heart would break. Thus sang the sweet sequestered bird, soft as the passing wind, and I recorded what I heard, a lesson for mankind. End of poem. A Fable by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. A raven, while with glossy breast her new-laid eggs she fondly pressed, and on her wicker-work high mounted, her chickens prematurely counted, a fault philosophers might blame, if quite exempted from the same, enjoyed at ease the genial day. 'Twas April, as the bumpkins say, the legislature called it May. But suddenly a wind as high as ever swept a winter sky shook the young leaves about her ears, and filled her with 1,000 fears, lest the rude blast should snap the bough, and spread her golden hopes below. But just at eve the blowing weather, and all her fears were hushed together. And now, quoth poor unthinking Ralph, 'tis over, and the brood is safe. For ravens, though as birds of omen they teach both conjurers and old women to tell us what is to befall, can't prophesy themselves at all. The morning came when neighbour Hodge, who long had marked her airy lodge, and destined all the treasure there, a gift to his expecting fair, climbed like a squirrel to his spray, and bore the worthless prize away. Moral. 'Tis Providence alone secures in every change both mine and yours. Safety consists not in escape from dangers of a frightful shape. An earthquake may be bid to spare the man that's strangled by a hair. Fate steals along with silent tread, found oftenest in what least we dread, frowns in the storm with angry brow, but in the sunshine strikes the blow. End of poem. Ode to Apollo, on an ink glass almost dried in the sun, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Patron of all those luckless brains that, to the wrong side leaning, indite much metre with much pains, and little or no meaning. Ah, why, since oceans, rivers, streams, that water all the nations, pay tribute to thy glorious beams in constant exhalations? Why, stooping from the noon of day, too covetous of drink, Apollo, hast thou stol'n away a poet's drop of ink? Upborne into the viewless air, it floats a vapour now, impelled through regions dense and rare by all the winds that blow. ordained perhaps ere summer flies, combined with millions more, to form an iris in the skies, though black and foul before. Illustrious drop, and happy then, beyond the happiest lot, of all that ever passed my pen, so soon to be forgot. Phoebus, if such be thy design, to place it in thy bow, give wit, that what is left may shine with equal grace below. End of poem. On a goldfinch starved to death in his cage, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Time was when I was free as air, the thistle's downy seed my fare, my drink the morning dew. I perched at will on every spray, my form genteel, my plumage gay, my strains forever new. But gaudy plumage, sprightly strain, and form genteel were all in vain, and of a transient date. For caught and caged, and starved to death, in dying sighs my little breath soon passed the wiry grate. Thanks, gentle swain, for all my woes, and thanks for this effectual close and cure of every ill. More cruelty could none express, and I, if you had shown me less, had been your prisoner still. End of poem. The Yearly Distress, or Tithing Time at Stock in Essex, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Verses addressed to a country clergyman complaining of the disagreeableness of the day annually appointed for receiving the dues at the parsonage. Come ponder well, for 'tis no jest, to laugh it would be wrong. The troubles of a worthy priest, the burden of my song. This priest he merry is and blithe 3/4 of a year, but oh, it cuts him like a scythe when tithing time draws near. He then is full of fright and fears, as one at point to die, and long before the day appears, he heaves up many a sigh. For then the farmers come jog, jog along the miry road, each heart as heavy as a log, to make their payments good. In sooth, the sorrow of such days is not to be expressed, when he that takes and he that pays are both alike distressed. Now all unwelcome at his gates the clumsy swains alight, with rueful faces and bold pates he trembles at the sight. And well he may, for well he knows each bumpkin of the clan, instead of paying what he owes, will cheat him if he can. So in they come, each makes his leg, and flings his head before, and looks as if he came to beg, and not to quit a score. And how does Miss and Madam do, the little boy and all? All tight and well, and how do you, good Mr. What do you call? The dinner comes, and down they sit. Were e'er such hungry folk? There's little talking and no wit, it is no time to joke. One wipes his nose upon his sleeve, one spits upon the floor, yet not to give offence or grieve, holds up the cloth before. The punch goes round, and they are dull and lumpish still as ever, like barrels with their bellies full, they only weigh the heavier. At length the busy time begins. Come, neighbours, we must wag. The money chinks, down drop their chins, each lugging out his bag. One talks of mildew and of frost, and one of storms of hail, and one of pigs that he has lost by maggots at the tail. Quoth one, a rarer man than you in pulpit none shall hear, but yet methinks, to tell you true, you sell it plaguy dear. Oh, why are farmers made so coarse, or clergy made so fine? A kick that scarce would move a horse may kill a sound divine. Then let the boobies stay at home, 'twould cost him, I dare say, less trouble taking twice the sum without the clowns that pay. End of poem. Light Shining Out of Darkness by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. God moves in a mysterious way his wonders to perform. He plants his footsteps in the sea and rides upon the storm. Deep in unfathomable mines of never-failing skill, he treasures up his bright designs and works his sovereign will. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take, the clouds ye so much dread are big with mercy and shall break in blessings on your head. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence he hides a smiling face. His purposes will ripen fast, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. Blind unbelief is sure to err, and scan his work in vain. God is his own interpreter, and he will make it plain. End of poem. The Poet, the Oyster, and the Sensitive Plant by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. An oyster cast upon the shore was heard, though never heard before, complaining in a speech well worded, and worthy thus to be recorded. Ah, hapless wretch, condemned to dwell for ever in my native shell, ordained to move when others please, not for my own content or ease, but tossed and buffeted about, now in the water and now out. 'Twere better to be born a stone, of ruder shape and feeling none, than with a tenderness like mine, and sensibilities so fine, I envy that unfeeling shrub, fast rooted against every rub. The plant he meant grew not far off, and felt the sneer with scorn enough. Was hurt, disgusted, mortified, and with asperity replied, when cry the botanists and stare, did plants called sensitive grow there? No matter when a poet's muses to make them grow just where she chooses. You shapeless nothing in a dish, you that are but almost a fish, I scorn your coarse insinuation, and have most plentiful occasion to wish myself the rock I view, or such another dolt as you. For many a grave and learned clerk, and many a gay unlettered spark, with curious touch examines me, if I can feel as well as he. And when I bend, retire, and shrink, says, well, 'tis more than one would think. Thus life is spent, oh fie upon it, in being touched and crying don't. A poet in his evening walk o'erheard and checked this idle talk. And your fine sense, he said, and yours, whatever evil it endures, deserves not, if so soon offended, much to be pitied or commended. Disputes, though short, are far too long, where both alike are in the wrong. Your feelings in their full amount are all upon your own account. You in your grotto work enclosed complain of being thus exposed, yet nothing feel in that rough coat, save when the knife is at your throat, wherever driven by wind or tide, exempt from every ill beside. And as for you, my lady squeamish, who reckon every touch a blemish, if all the plants that can be found, embellishing the scene around, should droop and wither where they grow, you would not feel at all, not you. The noblest minds their virtue prove by pity, sympathy, and love. These are feelings truly fine, and prove their owner half divine. His censure reached them as he dealt it, and each by shrinking showed he felt it. End of poem. The Nightingale and Glowworm by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. A nightingale that all day long had cheered the village with his song, nor yet at eve his note suspended, nor yet when eventide was ended, began to feel, as well he might, the keen demands of appetite, when, looking eagerly around, he spied far off upon the ground a something shining in the dark, and knew the glowworm by his spark. So, stooping down from hawthorn top, he thought to put him in his crop. The worm, aware of his intent, harangued him thus, right eloquent. Did you admire my lamp, quoth he, as much as I your minstrelsy, you would abhor to do me wrong, as much as I to spoil your song. For 'twas the selfsame power divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music, I with light, might beautify and cheer the night. The songster heard his short oration, and warbling out his approbation, released him, as my story tells, and found a supper somewhere else. Hence jarring sectaries may learn their real interest to discern, that brother should not war with brother, and worry and devour each other, but sing and shine by sweet consent, till life's poor transient night is spent, respecting in each other's case the gifts of nature and of grace. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim, peace both the duty and the prize of him that creeps and him that flies. End of poem. Mutual forbearance, necessary to the happiness of the married state, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The lady thus addressed her spouse: "What a mere dungeon is this house! By no means large enough, and was it, yet this dull room and that dark closet, those hangings with their worn-out graces, long beards, long noses, and pale faces, are such an antiquated scene, they overwhelm me with the spleen." Sir Humphrey, shooting in the dark, makes answer quite beside the mark: "No doubt, my dear, I bade him come, engaged myself to be at home, and shall expect him at the door precisely when the clock strikes 4. "You are so deaf," the lady cried, and raised her voice and frowned beside. "You are so deaf, my dear, what shall I do to make you hear?" "Dismiss poor Harry," he replies, "some people are more nice than wise. For one slight trespass all this stir? What if he did ride whip and stir? 'Twas but a mile, your favourite horse will never look one hair the worst. Well, I protest 'tis past all bearing. Child, I'm rather hard of hearing. Yes, truly, one must scream and bawl, I tell you, you can't hear at all." Then with voice exceeding low: "No matter if you hear or no." Alas, and is domestic strife, that sorest ill of human life, a plague so little to be feared as to be wantonly incurred, to gratify a fretful passion on every trivial provocation? The kindest and the happiest pair will find occasion to forbear, and something every day they live to pity and perhaps forgive. But if infirmities that fall in common to the lot of all, a blemish or a sense impaired, are crimes so little to be spared, then farewell all that must create the comfort of a wedded state. Instead of harmony, 'tis jar and tumult and intestine war. The love that cheers life's latest stage, proof against sickness and old age, preserved by virtue from declension, becomes not weary of attention, but lives when that exterior grace which first inspired the flame decays. 'Tis gentle, delicate, and kind, to faults compassionate or blind, and will with sympathy endure those evils it would gladly cure. But angry, coarse, and harsh expression shows love to be a mere profession, proves that the heart is none of his, or soon expels him if it is. End of poem. Epitaph on a Hare by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Here lies whom hound did ne'er pursue, nor swifter greyhound follow, whose foot ne'er tainted morning dew, nor ear heard huntsman's hallo. Old Tiny, surliest of his kind, who nursed with tender care, and to domestic bounds confined, was still a wild Jack Hare. Though duly from my hand he took his pittance every night, he did it with a jealous look, and when he could, would bite. His diet was of wheaten bread, and milk, and oats, and straw, thistles or lettuces instead, with sand to scour his maul. On twigs of hawthorn he regaled, on pippins, russet, peel, and when his juicy salads failed, sliced carrot pleased him well. A turkey carpet was his lawn, whereon he loved to bound, to skip and gambol like a fawn, and swing his rump around. His frisking was at evening hours, for then he lost his fear, but most before approaching showers, or when a storm drew near. 8 years and 5 round rolling moons he thus saw steal away, dozing out all his idle noons, and every night at play. I kept him for his humour's sake, for he would oft beguile my heart of thoughts that made it ache, and force me to a smile. But now beneath his walnut shade he finds his long last home, and waits in snug concealment laid till gentler puss shall come. He, still more aged, feels the shocks from which no care can save, and, partner once of Tiny's box, must soon partake his grave. End of poem. To the immortal memory of the halibut, on which I dined this day, Monday, April the 26th, 1784, by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Where hast thou floated? In what seas pursued thy pastime? When wast thou an egg new spawned, lost in the immensity of ocean's waste? Roar as they might, the overbearing winds that rocked the deep, thy cradle, thou wast safe, and in thy minikin and embryo state, attached to the firm leaf of some salt weed, didst outlive tempests such as wrung and racked the joints of many a stout and gallant bark, and whelmed them in the unexplored abyss. Indebted to no magnet and no chart, nor under guidance of the polar fire, thou wast a voyager on many coasts, grazing at large in meadows submarine, where flat Batavia just emerging peeps above the brine, where Caledonia's rocks beat back the surge, and where Hibernia shoots her wondrous causeway far into the main. Wherever thou hast fed, thou little thought'st, and not more, that I should feed on thee. Peace, therefore, and good health, and much good fish to him who sent thee, and success, as oft as it descends into the billowy gulf, to the same drag that caught thee. Fare thee well. Thy lot thy brethren of the slimy fin would envy, could they know that thou wast doomed to feed a bard, and be praised in verse. End of poem. Translations by William Cowper. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Glowworm. A translation from the Latin. Beneath the hedge or near the stream a worm is known to stray, that shows by night a lucid beam, which disappears by day. Disputes have been, and still prevail, from whence his rays proceed. Some give that honour to his tail, and others to his head. But this is sure, the hand of night that kindles up the skies gives him a modicum of light, proportioned to his size. Perhaps indulgent nature meant by such a lamp bestowed to bid the traveller as he went be careful where he trod, nor crush a worm whose useful light might serve, however small, to show a stumbling stone by night and save him from a fall. Whate'er she meant, this truth divine is legible and plain. 'Tis power almighty bids him shine, nor bids him shine in vain. Ye proud and wealthy, let this theme teach humbler thoughts to you, since such a reptile has its gem, and boasts its splendours too. The Jackdaw. A translation from the Latin. There is a bird who by his coat, and by the hoarseness of his note, might be supposed a crow, a great frequenter of the church, where bishop-like he finds a perch, and dormitory too. Above the steeple shines a plate, that turns and turns to indicate from what point blows the weather. Look up, your brains begin to swim. 'Tis in the clouds that pleases him, he chooses it the rather. Fond of the speculative height, thither he wings his airy flight, and thence securely sees the bustle and the raree show that occupy mankind below, secure and at his ease. You think no doubt he sits and muses on future broken bones and bruises if he should chance to fall. No, not a single thought like that employs his philosophic pate, or troubles it at all. He sees that this great roundabout, the world, with all its motley rout, church, army, physic, law, its customs and its businesses, is no concern at all of his, and says, what says he? Caw! Thrice happy bird! I too have seen much of the vanities of men, and sick of having seen 'em, would cheerfully these limbs resign for such a pair of wings as thine, and such a head between 'em. The Cricket. A translation from the Latin. Little inmate full of mirth, chirping on my kitchen hearth, wheresoe'er be thine abode, always harbinger of good. Pay me for thy warm retreat with a song more soft and sweet. In return thou shalt receive such a strain as I can give. Thus thy praise shall be expressed, inoffensive welcome guest, while the rat is on the scout, and the mouse with curious snout, with what vermin else infest every dish and spoil the best. Frisking thus before the fire, thou hast all thine heart's desire. Though in voice and shape they be formed as if akin to thee, thou surpassest happier far, happiest grasshoppers that are. Theirs is but a summer's song, thine endures the winter long, unimpaired and shrill and clear, melody throughout the year. Neither night nor dawn of day puts a period to thy play. Sing then, and extend thy span far beyond the date of man. Wretched man, whose years are spent in repining discontent, lives not, aged though he be, half a span compared with thee. The Parrot. A translation from the Latin. In painted plumes superbly dressed, a native of the gorgeous East, by many a billows tossed, Paul gains at length the British shore, part of the captain's precious store, a present to his toast. Belinda's maids are soon preferred to teach him now and then a word, as Poll can master it. But 'tis her own important charge to qualify him more at large, and make him quite a wit. "Sweet Poll," his doting mistress cries, "Sweet Poll," the mimic bird replies, and calls aloud for sack. She next instructs him in the kiss, 'tis now a little one like miss, and now a hearty smack. At first he aims at what he hears, and listening close with both his ears, just catches at the sound, but soon articulates aloud, much to the amusement of the crowd, and stuns the neighbours round. A querulous old woman's voice his humorous talent next employs. He scolds and gives the lie, and now he sings, and now is sick. Here, Sally, Susan, come quick, poor Poll is like to die. Belinda and her bird, 'tis rare to meet with such a well-matched pair. The language and the tone, each character in every part, sustained with so much grace and art, and both in unison. When children first begin to spell, and stammer out a syllable, we think them tedious creatures. But difficulties soon abate when birds are to be taught to prate, and women are the teachers. End of poem. Read by Alan Mapstone in Oxford, England. End of The Negro's Complaint and Other Poems by William Cowper.